emotions. Emotions make you cry sometimes, someone once said. And hopefully they make you laugh too, man. So today we're gonna do a crash course in emotional literacy. I was really hoping to have a lot of brothers out because I put that in mind specifically for them so that we could talk about some of the things that we don't get to talk about as far as emotional intelligence goes, emotional literacy, just the availability to get into an emotional space without feeling like it's a threatening thing for us. But the brothers ain't here that much. I see like 2 of us, 3 of us. So we're in here and we're gonna hold it down. But you know, I had to make some adjustments in the way I'm gonna present this because I really want to talk a lot to the men. But we got sisters here, and I need to make sure that y'all understand the balance of that and how we experience that. So I wanted to start by first like doing a definition so we all talking about the same thing. Words are funny in English. They mean lots of things.
Oh, there we go. I forgot I had mine down. So I looked up definitions so we could kind of see where these words are coming from that we're using. Emotions. I've seen a lot of people play with the word and bend it around and the sounds of it like ocean, emotion, and motion. So it's a lot of different things we pull, but I just want to have a underlying definition we could use. So I found it interesting that the original definition for emotion was disturbance. I found that interesting, right? Like when they first started using this word in English languages, the European languages, emotion meant disturbance, which I guess is, you know, has the roots of why men tend to stay away from it. It's a disturbance. We don't want to be disturbed. Why they tend to hate on women for being emotionally inclined, because you're disturbing us. You know what I mean? So there's this background energy. I love understanding where words actually come from, how it was originally used, not how we twist it. You see what I'm saying? Because it carries a lot of energy with it. But then the second one was excitement. So like excite a thing, to get a thing moving. Cracking. It's a little small, right? The second aspect, the one we usually deal with, the affective aspect of consciousness, feeling, or a state of feeling. So that's the part that we usually talk about, emotions. I feel something, right? A conscious mental reaction, such as anger or fear, subjectively experienced as strong feeling, usually directed toward a specific object. I don't like that. I love that. You know what I mean? It's, that person, that object, and typically accompanied by physiological and behavior changes in the body. And that's a crucial aspect that we don't talk about a lot today, is the fact that the emotions change you physically. It's not just a feeling that's in this ethereal, non-tangible space. It is really changing your body, your chemistry, the way you carry your whole existence. Like that. Boom. Yeah. So I take it a little farther than the definitions. Like I said, I get into the idea of the etymology, where these words come from. So it comes from Latin, this emovere, and which means ex, like exit, get out, you know what I'm saying? Plus move. So move out, so there's outward motion from us, right? You sit next to somebody that's steaming, and you can feel them steaming. If somebody is hot, they tight, they mad, especially if you know their energy already and you sit next to them, you can oftentimes feel that. We're going to get into why you can feel these things, man. Because it's vibrations. This is what we're talking about.
Microphones make it hard for me sometimes. Listen, I like to talk about that. So, vibrations. We all know that there is a tiny little, well, I do have this though, a tiny little piece in all of what sunshine does that we can see. It's got cosmic rays, gamma rays, X-rays, none of which we can see with our eyes. There's this tiny sliver that we call visible light. And then that breaks down into those 7 colors that we call the rainbow. Above it, we call ultraviolet or above violet, and infrared or under red. I always like to point out that whether it's ultraviolet or infrared, it's black either way. You see what I'm saying? So blackness is on both sides of the scales, but that's another conversation. It's just a good thing to point out. Looking at this one, I want you to notice that what changes the actual color, whether we see purple or green or yellow or red, is the wavelength, right? So if it's a hotter, faster color, it's the wavelength is short. It's like and when it's slower, when it's red, it's bigger, slower. So they call that a short wavelength because a wavelength is from where it starts to where it repeats. So that's the whole wave versus this is a whole wave, right? All of that matters because we can understand that in a simple way. We all get it. When we look at the rainbow, we can distinguish between the purple, the red, the green. We can see that. And we have heard somewhere in a science class somewhere about this visible light inside of all of this spectrum. Again, showing that the speed is what matters. About the light of the sun is coming at you all at once. but different parts of you can pick up on the different speeds of it, right? So when it comes to people, we have the same thing coming out of us. There's a guy named David Hawkins who has written this book called Power versus Force. He's basically saying force is the slower stuff, and power is the higher stuff. So he has basically assessed the different energies of our emotions and put a number to the amount of energy levels that you have from it. So you know if you're feeling bad, your energy levels are low, right? This is not science that I'm dropping on y'all. You know this from personal experience. And when you're feeling great, your energy levels are great. It's just something we instinctively know, but of course, people want to make sure that we can verify it. We can get some numbers, some mathematics to say this is real because now I can prove it in a laboratory. But we already know these things, and I always like to point out nothing I will say or show is something you don't already instinctively know, intuitively know. You were built knowing this. So I'm just trying to remind us of how to approach certain things. So if you can look at the idea that our emotions are kind of like that visible spectrum. It goes on a rainbow scale. And it's a scale that you can climb or go down. You can make things happen. You can do things yourself. How many of you have rituals already that you do? You got rituals? Any type of ritual. Some of you think you don't, but if you brush your teeth in the morning the same way, that's a ritual. If you sit on the toilet when you need to go to the bathroom and you wipe after yourself and flush, that's a ritual. It could be that basic. It's a ritual. If you pray before you eat, that's a ritual. So understanding ritual life is a real important thing we got to get back to. But you can do things. You know, if you're feeling bad after a day of work, you've got that thing you do. It may be go to your favorite bar. It may be come home and watch your show and binge. It may be roll up something. I don't know. But you got your ritual. You know what I mean? You got your thing that you do to shift your vibration. And you know that's what you're doing on some level. You know you're working to actually shift your vibration. I need to chill out. I need to slow down. I need to speed up. Coffee in the morning because you're trying to speed up your energy. Wine at night because you're trying to slow down your energy. This is stuff y'all already do. But we don't do it with the right consciousness, with a holistic consciousness of I can intentionally activate what I want to feel. So at the top we saying joy, love. That's like the best feeling ever. Somebody loves you and you're feeling joyful, great day. You can go and handle your biz. But if you are at the bottom, you feeling fear, grief. I don't know if any of you ever felt grief. The type of grief that makes you not want to do anything that day, that week, that month, that year. It's a real debilitating feeling. Understand that people who are in that state don't want to not do anything. They're not sitting there like, I don't want to do shit. They're sitting there like, I can't do anything. I don't have the energy to do anything. And when you understand that this is a literal energy thing, it's not a how you feel in a, like we downplay feelings and emotions. We make it seem like they're not real because they're not quantifiable. I can't objectively know if you're feeling the way you say you're feeling. So we downplay it because it's subjective. Only the person who's really having it really knows what it is. But African melanated people have always known you can vibe with people and know what they're feeling. This resonance, this assonance that we have. So this is just this is part of the guy's book that I was just showing you. David Hawkins. It's in Power versus Force. He breaks all of these numbers down to say that if you're at one of these, you can look at the ones around it in order to shift your vibration. So if you come against somebody who is feeling grief, they may be one step away from fear or apathy. You don't want them to go into apathy. So you watch the language that you use. When you're talking to somebody about if they're going through problems, you've got to be careful on the language, not to use accusatory language, not to use hyperbole, where you're saying you always do this, you never do that. Don't hit people with always and never. That's so impossible. Nobody can always do something or never do something. It's just impossible. That's God's realm. You know what I mean? So don't hit people with hyperbole because it instantly shuts them off. It instantly makes them feel like you're not acknowledging their reality and you're projecting on them. Instantly. They can't hear you. You're not having a conversation at that point. If you say to somebody, you always treat me like you never do. As soon as you say that, they feel like you're not even talking to them. You bring somebody from the past and project it on me. As soon as you do that, because everybody knows I don't always leave the toilet seat up. You know what I mean? I put it down once or twice. I don't never put gas in your car. You know what I'm saying? I did it that one time that year. So don't hit them with the nevers and the always because they'll remember the time that they didn't. And that's all they'll be able to focus on is the fact that I did it and you're not acknowledging me. They have studied where you feel your emotions. This is a chart to to show some of the place. It's funny to me, the shame look like Spider-Man. But where you see the yellow and the red colors, those are increased sensation, increased sensitivity. Versus if it goes into the darker colors, the blues and the purples, that's decreased sensitivity. So I don't feel anything. So if somebody's feeling depressed in their hands and legs, they tend to feel numb. They tend not to feel anything. Maybe that's the cold feeling. They're like cold and depressed. Happiness is the one that literally you feel head to toe. It's all over the body. Every single part of the body feels happiness, even more so than love. Like love get down to the knees a little bit, make you weak in the knees, and then you good at the toes, but it'll make you weak in the knees. But happiness covers the whole body. So this is something to show that, I mean, you guys know about aura, you know about Reiki, you know about chakras, but there are studies that show where your energy fields pop up, where your emotions reside. And most of you notice instinctively you've had love feelings in here somehow. Or if you've ever been heartbroken, you feel that vacuum feeling like in the middle of your chest, like a hole in your chest. Y'all have had these different kinds of feelings before, but we don't always have communication. If a baby never actually hears people speak English, they have the capacity to speak English, but they won't because they don't hear it. So we have the capacity to have good emotional communication, but if you don't actually see good communication in emotions, if you don't hear emotional language, you may not develop it. You may not pick it up. So we're going to pause for a second, and we're going to actually engage each other, because I don't want this to be so much a lecture as an experiential thing, right? So you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but I invite you to be in this space with us to see how some of these things feel. We're about to just try some little personal experimentation with each other. And the first one is a low risk, hopefully. You don't have to do it like I said. We're just going to hug each other, but I'm going to show you how a healing hug works. Not one of them fake booty out hugs. You know what I mean? With a little quick smile. A real hug is actually a healing technique. And if you know how to do it correctly, you can like literally shift people's body right in front of you. You can feel it, you can see it, you'll see it happen. Hopefully we'll see it happen right now. So if you would like to try this out, what you gotta do is stand up and find somebody to practice this with. I'm gonna show you how we hug for healing. Not just for greetings, not just because it gives you a nice little feel real quick, but an actual healing hug. You can do it. Somebody got to do it.
I used to know this guy. He would say, press on me right now.
Put both of them on me. So look. That's real. So look, I'm going to show y'all. Yeah, you got. No, it's okay if y'all hugging right now. I'm not hating on nobody getting extra hugs in. You can get as many as you want. But I am going to show you a real simple, specific way to hug. If you are going to try it, stand up. If you're not, relax. Can you be my partner? All right. So I will demonstrate with yin. I'm going to show you a couple different aspects of it to pay attention to. I want you to be very mindful of your own body and also the other person's body, right? So, a real hug, I'm going to say do it on the heart side. Everybody know where your heart is? Yeah. We have a tendency to go to the other side, and I don't even know what that is. It's a cultural thing, maybe. But today we're going to go for the heart side. We're going to match our hearts up, all right? You're going to not lean. Don't lean for a hug. Stand up straight. It's okay. It's going to create a closer space. I know. Sometimes sisters, y'all do it because you don't want the guys on your breastises. I get that. I understand that. I've noticed it happen. Sometimes it's just a close, intimate space. People don't want to do it. Hugging like this is awkward, and it hurts. It's bad for your back. You know what I'm saying? And when you do this, you'll see what I mean. You'll actually feel it. Like if you're hugging like this, even if it's slight, even if it's like that, you're going to feel it, and it'll make you want to stand up straight. You'll want to stand up because of what we're going to do. So, to hug like this, you got to make sure you're not doing the shoulder tight hug. When you reach up on somebody, like you throw the chokehold, so you're going to make sure your shoulders are relaxed, and you're not going to try to bring your arms up. You're going to wrap your arms around the person. Not up, just around, so that your body is relaxed while you do it. Okay? Heart side, relaxed arms, and then just hold for 15 seconds. 15 seconds. And notice your body. If you feel tight, don't have it.
She said hard side.
I was just
So,
They still trying.
it's okay. Pay a lot of attention to your body language. Try not to lean. If you lean in, you'll feel it. Because after you've held for 5 seconds, you'll feel the tension in your body like, I'm about to fall. You want to be straight. Yeah. You got to scoot them feet up. That's right. Relax your body. If you need an example, I'll demonstrate one time and then you can watch just so you can see.
Okay.
So, notice my arms. I'm not reaching up. I'm coming right around. Heart side. I'm not trying to pull her or squeeze her. I'm just holding her.
And we're breathing.
And we breathe. And you start to feel the breath. Sometimes it's synchronized.
She pregnant. No,
Just like that. So that's it. So you're trying that.
Yeah.
That,
How about group hugs?
group hugs are great.
That's a healing hug. I suggest that you try that with someone who you think is tired, who is an attention, energy person. You give them a slow hug. And now, you got to know that when you go to hug somebody and you're intending to hug them longer than 1 second, this guy over here, keep sideline.
They sticking their butt out though.
The booty pose.
Butt out. That ain't
Be
right.
careful of the booty pose.
Both they butts out. Booty out.
So what you'll notice is that people, we go to do the hug break. We hug, now I'm pulling back. So it's an important thing that if you are planning on holding this person for a few moments and you feel them pull back, you don't grab them in, you don't try to squeeze them, you just stay there. You don't release, you just stay there holding. You don't squeeze, you don't pull them back no, don't go, I'm not done yet. Don't do that. It's a violation. They will not appreciate that. They'll feel like you're trying to trap them or something. Don't do it. I'm like, get on back here. Don't do it. If they're trying to release, let them release. But I'm saying, if you don't release, then they may stop oh, it's okay. We can keep going. Give them a try. Give them the benefit of the doubt. And if they continue to pull, then let them go. But if they start to pull,
You just stand there. You stand there and you feel the pull and you just still stand there I ain't letting go though. 99 out of 100 times people will stop pulling away and be like, oh, okay. That's all right.
So try that. And I suggest you do that if you're in relationships. You should do that once a day at least for multiple reasons, which we're going to touch into some. So let's get into emotional vocabulary because that's some of what we build in. That's a nonverbal communication. It's important to have your nonverbal communications and emotions. So there are certain types of learning and communicating styles. One of them is visual. If you talk to people, they often tell you their style by the words they use. So if you explain something to somebody and they say, yeah, I see what you mean, that's a visual learner. Their words will always cue you in how their mind is working. If they say, yeah, I see what you mean. But some people say, I feel you, which is different from I see what you mean. I see what you mean is somebody you need to give them a picture sometimes. You need to show them something. They need to see it, and they'll see what you mean. A tactile person is, I feel you. You might need to put your arm around them while you talk to them. Tap them every now and then. They need to feel you. I hear you. That's the audio people. They can just get it off explanation. You can say it to them, they'll pick it up. I hear you. You're paying attention to how your loved ones talk to you. So you know what their style is when you really need to communicate with them. It's best if you communicate with them in their style. If your son is a visual learner, watch a video with them. Show him a picture book. Show him a poster. If he's a I feel you person, sit down with him. If he's young enough, put him on your lap. Put your arm around him while y'all read a book. You see what I'm saying? You got to actually touch him. If he's an audio person, maybe find some songs that he would enjoy. Talk to him. Find some lectures. And then you got the rhythm people. That maybe they need to walk. They might be tapping on themselves while they're doing something. They usually need to move a little bit in order to absorb information. So if you got that type of person, say, yo, let's walk to the park. Let's walk to the store. Let's walk up the steps. Whatever it takes so that you can open them up to their style of learning. That is just basic stuff on how you can start to be more sensitive to how your partner communicates. And not just your partner, your family, your friends, your coworkers. Everybody has one of these styles. And just tune in sometimes. You'll see it. Some people use multiple. I know I do. I know I use multiple of these. It depends on what day and what time it is. But you'll get it from people. I'm sure you've heard the 5 love languages by now. Y'all have heard some talk of that. I think that's important to pay attention to. Because everybody has a way that they express how they care about you. You don't have to stick with the 5. There are multiple systems about how many love languages there are. But it's important to know what your partner's love language is and what yours is. Because here's the thing that happens a lot. I know it from my own experience. I know it from talking with a lot of brothers. Men go out of their way sometimes to show a woman, yo, I'm checking for you, and I need you to know this, and I'm feeling you, and I'm going to sit here and do this thing for you. I'm going to write the poem because I'm a poet. I'm going to write you this poem. It's going to be the most loving poem that I ever wrote in my life. And I give it to her. Boom. She don't like poetry, though. She like back massages. You know what I'm saying? And her back was hurting all day. And I'll come home with a little happy poem. I done typed it up on some little fancy paper. I put it in a frame. Boom, girl. And she's like, can you rub my feet? And I'm like, yeah, but boom, girl, I just gave you, that was the dopest poem. I wrote it in a month, you know what I'm saying? She won't receive it because she won't receive it in the way that he's trying to give it. And if she doesn't know that's his love language, he writes poetry when he's really feeling love, such that she wants to get her love language. I need a back rub. So if you're trying to make me feel love, get on that back, bro. You know what I'm saying? The deltoids is tight. So he will then feel some type of way, like, you don't appreciate how I love, or you don't appreciate me. That's when you get into those hyperbole conversations. You never do anything for me. And in his mind, he does a lot for you. But if y'all haven't had the communication about what this is when I do this, then you may not know that he's showing you love, or vice versa. So that's an important thing, to have that communication. What is your love language? You don't have to stick with the 5, like I said, but talk to a person like, how do you know a person loves you? Sometimes they don't know it that directly. Sometimes you gotta ask them about somebody who they know loved them as a child, and ask, what did that person do for them? I know my grandmother had the best pancakes in the world, and I don't even know why. I don't know what she did, but whenever I think of pancakes, I think of her. You see what I'm saying? To this day, I probably had her pancakes 5 times in my life. It wasn't even like all that regular, but it was something about when she did it, it just stuck with me. Find out those kind of stories from your partner. See what it is that triggers their happy feelings, their good feelings. We quick to find a trigger that'll piss somebody off, yo. We can find them joints quick. But to find the other triggers, the ones that actually make people feel empowered, to send them on that upward spiral, those are the ones you need. Just to run through those, giving gifts. Some people like to get gifts. Some people like to give gifts. Even if it's not a money thing, you can do things, like I said, write a poem, draw a picture. Make a gift of something. Make a gift of your love. Find out quality time. Some people just want to spend time. They don't care what you're doing. As long as they're together and it's quality. Don't be like watching a football game, like, yo, this quality time. They don't like football. You know what I'm saying? Words of affirmation. Just saying things that you appreciate about somebody. That matters so much. A lot of times I hear women tend to get more words of affirmation. People tend to think women like to hear how they attract you. You know what I mean? Like, tell a woman she's pretty. Give a woman a compliment. I've heard that a lot since I moved to New York in particular, when they were trying to give me the sale $2 jewelry. Tell the women she got a nice dress. I'm like, okay, nice dress, lady. And it works. Men don't always get that same consideration, but they do still need that. They do still need to feel in some way appreciated. Directly, not indirectly. Like, a lot of times it's indirect. Well, you should know that because I did this and I don't do this for nobody. I don't know you don't do this for nobody. It's the first time I did this with you. You know what I'm saying? So you got to really be clear about the things you're doing for somebody, what it means to you, what you're trying to get them to experience, and find out if they feel that way. If you love macaroni and cheese because your grandmama made it perfectly and you got that recipe from her and it was like a real thing in your life, you're like, I'm going to make the best macaroni and cheese for my husband, and then he's vegan. Then what you going to do? Because that was part of your dream. Like, that was in your wedding. Y'all had a whole macaroni and cheese cake. You know what I mean? Like, it was part of your dream. And this man is vegan. So now can you switch to vegan macaroni and cheese? Is it going to hurt your feelings because it's not your grandmama's recipe? Like, these are emotional things you got to balance out, because clearly the macaroni and cheese is important to you. How important is it that your partner be involved in it? That's where you have to navigate. That's where you have to realize we are two different people. And what's good for me, I don't have to make them like it too. They're not your clone. You know what I mean? They're not your identical anything. They're people with their feelings and their grandmama's macaroni and cheese. You know what I'm saying? So you actually have to talk about these things. What matters to you? Acts of service. What can I do for you? Can I help you out with something? Can I change a tire? Let me take your car and wash it for you. That sort of thing. Make your bed, wash your clothes, cook you something. Something nice. Do something for somebody, man. And physical touch. Some people need to be touched. Some people don't want to be touched. Some people are awkward about that. It's not their communication style. So if you're a toucher, you got to be careful about that with people who may not like to be touched as much. If that's the case, you got to bond with them. You got to build them up to your touch at least. You see what I'm saying? You can't just jump in and force on them. You should like to be touched. It's good. It's okay. It's touch. You can't hit them with a bunch of facts and details about how touch increases the body's this and that. You need to work with them where they are. Not tell them what they should be doing or what's factually, whatever they have, their experiences and their truth. You got to honor it, yo. Got to acknowledge it. You cannot try to gangster people out of their feelings. Tell them what they should do, what they should not do. This is back on that spiral scale that we showed about how the emotions come out. These are the word associations that go with these feelings. I didn't want to go through all of those feelings earlier because I knew I would have to talk them out right now. People's words will tell you what they're dealing with. So if somebody says, yo, I love this sandwich. They don't love that sandwich, but in their heart, you know what I mean? They just got so much energy. That's how they talking about the life. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, I love this. That's a great person. As opposed to, I can't see how you can do that. It's a different thing. They're both showing that they appreciate it. I can't even see how you do that. Versus, I love that. Yo, I can see myself doing something like that. Look at the language. Maybe I can do something. I don't care goes over to boredom and apathy. Y'all got teenagers around and they're like, I don't care. It don't matter. I don't care. Boredom and apathy. A lot of the teenagers feel like nothing matters because they tried to change things and it didn't, or they can't see how their powers work. So they start feeling like, well, it don't matter then. If anything I do, it doesn't matter. Why keep trying? I'm falling back. Y'all got it then. Y'all got to figure it out. That's what apathy is. It's like, yeah, I see it, but I don't care. It ain't nothing I can do. It don't matter. Yeah. So listen to people's words. If you got those teenagers around, it's like, I don't care, whatever. Doubting people. That's pessimism. I doubt it. I judge. How many of y'all feel like you're judgmental? Anybody feel like you're judgmental? You know, like, you're judgmental. Keep it on. It's real. It's real. I don't think judgments in and of themselves are bad. I prefer assessments. I like to assess a situation rather than judge it. Because the judgment is saying whether it's good or bad, right? I like to say, is it useful or not? Is it good for my goal or not? And I use real simple things like, if my goal is to get out this door, going to the left is good. Going to the right is bad. But in and of itself, going left or right is not bad, right? So take the judgments off and assess which one of these is going to be better for me to get my goal. Going to the left, better. See what I'm saying? So if you can do that with people, take the judgments off of people. Because you can't judge anybody. You don't know their life. You don't know where they came from. You don't know what just happened to them. You don't know what they're on their way to do. I don't care how long you've known them. If you have not been with them for every time they fell, every time they had to go to the bathroom, every time they got hungry, every time they got hurt, if you've not been there through every single second, you cannot judge a person. You don't know what's caused them to be the way they are. You don't know the traumas. You don't know, even if it's something that you've been through and you processed it, you don't know if they can process it as well. So you can't judge it like, well, I was there too and I ain't tripping. That's you. And you can help them, but you can't gangster them into not feeling what they feel. Them judgments cost a lot, man. If people are saying they're bad, do y'all hear people say, don't judge me? You hear that, right? That's a phrase, yo, don't judge me. Blah, 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 blah. So when people are talking about judgment a lot, perhaps they have pride issues. You see what I'm saying? Like you can use these things to start to learning people's language. I love, I'm full, I'm engaged, I'm energized, I can, I'm okay, maybe I can, I don't hurt, I don't care, I doubt, I judge, I won't, I need, I can't, I did bad, I am bad. Listen to how people talk. Listen to how people talk because they're telling you their internal feelings. They're telling you what they're really going on inside. People say all the time, you know, we're not psychic. We actually are, and y'all know that. It's just that we don't take the time to develop our psychic abilities like we take the time to develop our manual dexterity. Babies don't just come out able to do nothing with fingers except do that. You know what I mean? But they take the time to learn to articulate every piece of it. And if we took the time to articulate all of our emotions, we would be just as handy with our emotional skill sets as well with our physical skill sets. Emotional intelligence. Let me see where I'm at in this, because we're going to do another activity real quick. Something simpler. You don't have to touch nobody if you don't want to. But you can. So,
It's another pairing, so you're going to pair up with somebody again. This time, we're not going to touch unless you want to hold hands. You're going to look in the eye. This is probably hard.
That's
It's
the hard
difficult.
one, right?
That's right. But why is that? Why is it hard to look in somebody's eye? Why do you think
Soul.
that? And that's what we want to see, right? Am I right or wrong? I mean, as melanated people, don't we want to deal with soulful people?
Yes.
So take it. I really want to dig this up a little bit. Tell me why you think we would want to be avoiding each other's soul then.
We're soul people. So.
I think it deals, like, even going back to judgment, because, like, not only you get into your soul, but you actually really connect with someone spiritually. So you actually have to feel what they feel, be who they are. Like, it's an integration.
That's a heavy, strong part of what I'm getting at right now.
I like to look in people's eyes, but very few people like that.
That's
Why are
okay.
you looking at me? Don't look at me.
They go quick. Like,
Being comfortable with what's inside their own soul. Comfortable.
that's a
So they
big
don't
one.
want you to see.
Right. So if you got something you don't want people to see,
Yeah.
like,
Avoid the eye.
right. You about to say something?
What she just
Same
said.
thing, right?
Yeah.
What you saying, bro?
With strangers, I look for intention.
And you can see it.
Yeah, you know.
That's really real.
Sometimes it neutralizes whatever their thoughts was.
Yes.
If they don't see fear, it neutralizes
Facts.
whatever their intentions was.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And that's good. We're going to actually get into that whole energetic dynamic. So I like what they were saying about the internal world. If I look into your eyes and you look into mine, we can see what's going on with each other. If we both just being open in that space. And a lot of times we carrying around things we don't want people to know about us. We feeling ashamed, we feeling guilty, we feeling hurt, we feeling whatever. And we don't want people to know that about us.
Where's your plug? Because battery's going
Okay. It's in my bag, which is over there, I think.
Look.
Yeah, so that's the issue. And that's the crux of what I really want to drive home today is that's the part we got to do, though. That vulnerability to each other, the willingness to look at each other and see each other's hurt, the willingness to expose our own hurt is going to be really the crux of this if we move forward out of this however many decades worth, we ain't really got that far. You know what I mean? And the reason we haven't gotten that far, and it's really historically driven in with the 60s when they did a whole lot of assassination of our people and a lot of infiltration of our organizations, is this trust issue. If I can't look you in the eyes and you look me in the eyes, that's a trust issue. You know what I mean? It's a trust factor. To be able to look you in the eyes because I'm exposing myself to you. I'm giving you everything I got by allowing you to look me in the eyes, and I'm accepting the same thing from you. And if we can't make that agreement together, that lets you know. You know, that's why people say you got to look people in the eyes. You know what I mean? So you can really get that real connection there. And you can see if somebody's lying to you. Truth has a vibration, like our five senses. And then we talk about that sixth sense. The sixth sense is the intuitive, vibrational things that we feel around us, the gut feelings. It's really important to take high note of those. And so that's really what I want y'all to go home with is how to practice those skills with your partners, with your loved ones, such that you can see each other, encourage each other, and support each other. Because a lot of times we come into this on our own, and it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy for somebody else to say some stuff to you that'll throw you off. Like that almost threw me off. But it's easy. It happens like that. We got on that?
Yeah, good one.
Okay, so we have to be able to trust each other again, guys. How can we have an honest conversation if we're trying to do some community building, just on the most basic level? How can we have it if we don't trust each other? If there's any money involved with black people, I see the most nervous looks ever of any people on the planet. If you asking for more than $1 from black people, they start asking everything like, "What's your social security number though? You got your W-2 from last year?" It's like that is the trust issue.
Okay.
Of most social contact. You see what I'm saying? I think that the real trust issue is the male and female energy that we'll get into as far as how the plantation has affected our relationships. And we really have to deal with that. But that part, the plantation and this historic distrust of each other at this point of you might be the Feds, you might be the Pharisee, you might be Judas, you know what I mean? You might be the one. And especially since we raised on Christianity and the whole thing is Jesus and Judas, you know what I mean? Like we always expected Judas to be there. It's built into our spiritual thinking if you were raised in a Christian church. So how do we combat this serious trust issue? We got to do some things like look each other in the eyeballs. Some We're going to try it right now. And see what it feels like. I want you to take note of your own feelings. Does your body freak out? Do you start to sweat? Do you shiver? Do you get cold? Do you get hot? Take notice what's going on with you. So find you a partner. We're going to do it 60 seconds.
Okay.
It's a whole minute. It's the shortest thing ever. It's about to drive you crazy.
Brother Josh, also take note of your breathing.
Max, the breathing
Take
also.
note of your breathing while you're looking, because that's also a telltale
You
sign.
can stand or sit. You can be as comfortable as you want. But pay attention to your body. Yes, definitely your breathing. I'm going to give us a 1-minute timer. All right. On your mark. If you want, hold hands also. If you want to really make a strong connection. But you're just going to look at each other eye to eye. Try not to look away if you don't have to. On your mark. You set. Go. Oh. Beam loving thoughts at each other. Think loving thoughts. See if you can maintain the look. Feel it in your whole body. Send it through your hands if you're holding hands. Send it in your look. You can smile at them. Send some loving breaths. Where's that? Okay. Almost there. You got like 10 seconds left. All right, time's up. Oh, I got it on vibrate. Sweet. All right. Okay. Anybody got any
Did anybody feel anything from that? Any comments you want to share?
I did. I felt some kind of soulfulness from her.
Felt some soulfulness?
Yeah, I did.
What did that feel like? Where did you feel it?
I went towards the end. I saw like a sparkle. Seemed like to me.
Got the sparkle in her?
Yeah, like a little, some kind of something.
Dopeness.
I did see that.
Anybody else what you feel?
He said that he lost his business veneer and became accepting. It was a releasing of a separation.
That's nice. Yeah, public figure people, like, it's a little different for us. Because we some real loving people and we real genuine, but we have to carry a certain shield at the same time. Because everybody around us don't always know how to be kind and gentle. Even if they don't mean it maliciously, sometimes people are, I hate to use the word vampire, but vampiristic. They're parasitic sometimes and they don't mean any harm. So, yeah, I can imagine, like King Simon, that smile is a hell of a shield, y'all. Like, bullets stopping him. I'm like, oh, let me go this way and come around.
With the sister, I was sending more love to her and her children. I want to see the best out of them.
That's appropriate right there. That's appropriate. Yeah, bro.
With the sister, I'll share this, is that I was focusing on prosperity, and I was also focusing on the glyph for myrrh, the hieroglyph for myrrh. But at the same time, I was trying to hide my pain. So I had to put more energy in the glyph or the metal netta than the pain that I have been feeling the last couple of months. And a tear rolled down her eye.
Tears flew down my eye because I was looking at him. I can see his antiquity. He's a pharaoh for sure. He came straight from the beginning of time. But I wasn't interpreting. I didn't know what it was. But my eyes, I felt that overwhelming energy, and it made my eyes tear. But I feel the love too because it's like it told me to smile. And send the love and feel the love too.
That's live. That's real live. I wrote a poem called "I'm So in Live with You, Man." Because of that kind of energy right there. It's like, I'm in live with you. It's in the book. Maybe I will. But I probably will now that you mention it. So that's the thing you can do, though, with loved ones. Sometimes, be creative with it. If you have a disagreement, shelf the disagreement, shelf the debate for a minute, and just do that first. Just remind yourselves, hey, we on teams, and I love you, and I see you. Before you have that debate, before you have that disagreement, do that first. Do the 15-second hug first. Do a ritual to affirm your bond. You have to affirm the bond. Bonding is everything. That's the whole point of a ritual, is to bond you to something. The whole point of a ritual is to bond you to something. So, children, for example, your daughter has a birthday party and she wants Princess Tiana everything. She wants the little black princess from Disney. So you get her the Disney dress, you get her the cake, you get her the hat, you get her the things, everything that goes along with Princess Tiana. That's a whole ritual experience that you've given her. Y'all play the video in the background. Y'all got songs. Y'all got the little picture book. Y'all give her a full immersive 5 senses experience. That's a ritual. But we don't think of it like that. We just think, oh, I'm going to let them have a good birthday. And you like Tiana? I'm going to hook up your Tiana. You're not thinking, yo, I am bonding you to Disney and Tiana for the rest of your life. That's what you're not thinking about. Try having a my great-grandmother was dope party for your daughter. You see what I'm saying? Have our maternal ancestors, we don't dress up as them for the birthday party. Paint their faces on the cake. You know what I mean? That's how you bond your children to your culture. If you keep bonding them to Disney and TV, then that's when you have the children that don't want to rock with their parents. They like, you're not Disney. Especially because Disney always kills the parents or makes them the bad guys in the movies. Please take note of that.
I'm sorry. I just got to take this opportunity to say, all us black folk is in love or anxiously anticipating the Black Panther,
The Black Panther movie. I know.
The Black Panther movie is a Disney movie.
I know.
You know Disney's agenda. They ain't got no good things for no black
I
people.
feel I felt the same way. I said the same thing.
I'm just saying, keep
I said
that in mind.
Every time I've been hosting the show lately, I ask about the Black Panther, and I always say that, like, it makes me a little nervous.
It look good, but I'm waiting for that boom to drop.
That boom to drop. He gonna get killed by a white lady and get resurrected to marry her at the end. That's gonna be the surprise ending of Black Panther. After they got all y'all money, Angelina Jolie gonna swing in and marry his ass. Swallow him up with all them plastic lips. Okay, look. No, that's an appropriate observation. That's real. Just that the Black Panther is the Disney joint. So it's the bonding though that matters. It's the bonding. Make sure that your rituals are bonding your children to your culture all the time. And you can make up rituals. You can make up songs. I made up a George Washington Carver song for my children one time when we were studying him, and I still sing in my head like George Washington Carver. I'm bonded to the joint now. Like, it's funny, man. So look, this is the emotional intelligence. You can look this up online. I ain't gonna spend a lot of time on it. It's just a concept that's been put out there by this guy. It's been popularized by this guy, Daniel Goleman. And there's 5 elements they talk about. Self-awareness. I like to just look at that as I versus me. I hurt myself. He hurt me. Talk about the same situation, but who are you in this situation? Are you the subject or the object? Are you in control or are you being controlled? So your self-awareness should be an I am, not me is. You know what I mean? I am. So self-awareness, just take it like that. It's the God in you saying, I exist and I'm real. This is all about me. Not this is all being done to me. Please, like, be thoughtful of how you're speaking and how your partner is speaking. If they're saying, you did such and such to me, or you're saying, I did such and such to you, you got to check that language because you're responsible for your life and they're responsible for theirs. And even in the partnership, you're still responsible for your actions and your feelings. Self-regulation is a crucial thing when it comes to the emotions. We all can do self-regulation. We all learn it as children. We learn how to, like, regulate our muscles. Regulate, I got to pee, but I'm not going to pee on myself. I've learned how to regulate myself. So in the emotional side, it's the same thing. If it's like, I got this feeling, I'm about to splatter. And you're like, nope, I'm going to hold that in because this is not the appropriate place to put this out. Self-regulation in an emotional situation is super critical because if you're having a situation where your loved one comes and tells you, here's the thing that you've done that has hurt me. It is not the time for you to say, well, you hurt me too. That's peeing on yourself, and you too grown to do that. You see what I'm saying? That's when you have to hold it in. You got to clench that muscle and be like, really? I'm sorry, how can I help you? You see what I'm saying? Let them get it all out. Hear everything about it. And then maybe the next day, like, I was thinking about what you were saying, and I think that's similar to what I'm going through also. Maybe you can understand it because you was experiencing it too. Let's talk about that. But when they bring it up, it's not the time for you to fire back, me too. It's not time for hashtagging on their ass. It's not me too when they're trying to express to you, right? Motivation. This is a big thing that I talk to sisters about when it comes to their men, because I hear sisters complain about their men not reaching their potential. Let me say it like that. They have men who they feel like could be doing more, but they seemed unmotivated. They seem deactivated somehow. They seem disempowered. They hyped to play their NBA game on PlayStation, but they don't necessarily want to take out the garbage or something like that. You know what I mean? What's the motivation? What's the motivation? Why is it more sisters to be at like marches and protests and community gatherings and book clubs? Why are sisters motivated to get out there and get it, and brothers kind of be apathetic, like it don't matter? That's the crucial thing that I think you should think about and talk about with your partner, about what is their motivation about. But I'm going to give y'all this for my sisters, and I'm sure I'll find one for the brothers too, but I don't think we need it yet. Sisters, if you got a brother that needs motivation, you got to get him motivated. This is somebody you love, your loved one, your partner. Here's a way that you can motivate your partner. You give them a day when they come home from work, and you meet them at the door with a smile and that 15-second hug we just did, right? You get them as soon as they walk in the door, you're starting a ritual on their ass. You don't have to tell them, but as soon as they walk in the door, you start a ritual. You hug them, boom, you have something for them. Maybe their favorite water, their favorite drink. You just made them some fresh juice, something like that. Just greet them at the door with something like a token of, hey, welcome home, king. You know what I mean? Like, you royal, you home. Go all out if you want to. Rose it up, throw some rose petals until take them to the kitchen. Now sit down, you got dinner all laid out. It's their favorite dinner. It's everything they ever loved. Their favorite drink is with it. It's perfectly seasoned. Yay. You got the music playing in the background. It's their favorite artist. You might have hired a whole band to be in the living room just jamming like. You can take requests. It's a beautiful day. After dinner, you done had the best dessert. You take them into the bathroom. You shower them down. Lather his little grimy ass up. Get all the work, all the day. Get all the stress off of them. Take them into that bedroom and you start loving them down. Get your shea butter out that you got from Nicholas. Put some little essential oils on it. Put the little joint in the diffuser. It's nice in there. You know what I mean? The lights is low. You get them all worked up. You get them all extra excited. You get them up to that point. And then, when he's at that point, you say to him, I will make every day like this for you, that you fill in the blank. I often say that you kill a white man for me. But some people ain't ready for that. Some people not ready. Try it. See if it works. That's how I originally came up with this concept. Because it's the motivation of a black man is to take care of his black woman. And since the plantation, we have not been able to accurately do that. And it digs at us every single day. We have not forgotten that. Sisters, we know we're supposed to be there. We know it. And that's sometimes why we look away real quick like, I don't want her to know that I know and I can't do it. So there's a lot of shame and guilt that men carry around, black men I'm talking about. If I say men, I mean black men, for the record. While we in this conversation. So there's a lot of shame and guilt that men carry around about wanting to be there to protect his woman, but not knowing how to do it. I got a little quick poem in there that says something about not showing public displays of affection, not because I don't want to, but because I'm still a little nervous about having you under my protection in public. Like somebody might come and snatch you, and what I'm gonna do? They might come and steal our children, and what I'm gonna do? So there's this lingering genetic, I'm scared to be your protector, because I don't know. The police might roll up, and what I'm gonna do? Children's services might roll up, and what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be in that same genetic, castrated situation. You see what I'm saying? Men carry this, black men carry this, whether they're conscious of it or not. Black men carry this. So women, you have to be conscious of that on one side, not to jug at men and their sensitivities about why you aren't doing certain things. Take that historic long step and understand there's a reason behind it, even if you can't get to it, even if they don't even know why. You ask them like, I don't know, shit, I just don't feel like it. They may not know. And you can't even be mad at them. Man, schools make sure we don't know nothing, right? So you got to make sure that you talk to your man about his motivation or your woman about their motivation. And you can help a black man get some motivation, is what I'm trying to tell you. You can help him get motivated. All you got to do is bond him ritually to the love, to the connection you have, and then say to him, I'll hook you up like this all the time. All you got to do is, boom. Start a new nation, take over the world, buy this building. You know what I'm saying? It could be simple. You ain't got to go kill as many white people as possible unless you want to. But you can say, buy this building, buy this block, buy something, start a business, LLC, patent that joint, copyright that joint. Reward the behaviors that you want to see. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to skip these two so we can get to some other things. 5 years design, body language, facial expressions. Go back. I want all of those. Okay, real quick. These are all the things that you need to use when communicating with somebody about emotions. Not just the words, because we train to lie about our emotions. We're trained to lie. Parents tell children they don't feel what they feel. You ain't hurt. Get up. I just straight bleeding. It's going to be a bruise tomorrow. But I have to say I'm not hurt, and I have to not cry. You see what I'm saying? So people are trained to lie about their emotions. So you cannot always depend on it. You ask somebody, what's wrong? Nothing. You can't be black and nothing's wrong anyway. You know what I'm saying? Something wrong if you're black in America. They can at least say, I'm black in America. If they don't even say that, you know they're fronting.
Les Brown usually say 80% don't care and 20% glad it's you.
See what I'm saying?
You going through.
Bomb. So you got to pay attention to the body language. If they sitting there like, nothing's wrong. You can see it, but they saying, you can't come at me that way. You can't come in the front door. I got locks there. You might have to go tap on the window like, hey, I see you in there. You might have to go through the back door, which is always unlocked, and then just go and sit on the couch with them like, damn, who at the front door? That's usually how I do it.
Getting a lot of love on Facebook, girl. They
Oh, word?
hearts. They throwing hearts.
Heart it up. Facial expressions, micro facial expressions. Facial expressions, we tend to see those really quick and easy, especially as a person on stage. I gauge my audience. When I first started, I hated looking at my audience because of all y'all's facial expressions. Some of y'all might be enjoying it. Some of y'all might look bored. Some of y'all might look upset. Some of y'all texting. You know what I'm saying? And my ego might not be able to handle all of that, right? So we looking them down. We closing our eyes. Like, I don't want to know their feelings. But now it helps me a lot to be able to know what's the temperature of my audience. How do they understand? Am I sounding crazy? Does this only sound good to me? So you pay attention to people's facial expressions because it really does tell you, especially while you're talking to them. The micro facial expressions, you see them, those are the quick ticks. The little like you say something to somebody, for example, that don't like feet, right? You on a date, they don't like feet. And you say, oh, I need a foot massage, and they know what's up. Just real quick, like, real quick. They don't want you to know yet. They don't want to say to you, I don't like feet. They don't want to say that. But when you bring up, I need a foot rub, they know you're like, she probably want me to rub her feet. And then you find he's disgusted, like, hell no. But he's trying to hide that because, you know, we just started dessert. Micro facial expressions count. If you can really pick up on those from people, like, if you've taken the time to look in people's eyes long enough, to spend time to know their real moves, you talk to somebody, you can see when their face twitches. And you can actually study microfacial expressions to know what that means once you pick them up. Because they happen so fast that you may not catch the whole thing. You know, they're subtle, but pay attention to them anyway. They're subtle, but pay attention when you can. And eye language, like we just learned how to look at people and look away from people. Some people will chronically not be able to look at you, especially in the younger generation, so be careful with that. They have nerve damage. They have chemical overstimulation. And if you look at them straight in the eye, it'll overstimulate them and it'll freak them out. So they'll have to look away. If you have people like that, look at their forehead, look at their nose, and it seems still like you make eye contact as best as possible, but it's not that direct, I can't take this, you know what I mean? So those are things you can use. If you find you're dealing with somebody who cannot take direct eye contact, look above or below. It's that simple. Look away sometime, you know what I mean? You don't have to just be staring people down like, do you understand what I'm saying? Don't do that to people. We're regular people. The word choices, we kind of talked about those. So let's talk about this real quick. Unconditional love is great. An unconditional relationship is not. You should never have an unconditional relationship, which is what most people have. Because you end up in situationships. Whereas you kind of was hanging out, and next thing you know, y'all been hanging out so long, by default, we together. But you ain't actually talk about it. You didn't have a real, actual starting point. You just kind of, you spent the night 3 times now. Maybe we together. So I say create. Yeah, you don't want to fall in love. You want to fly in it, rise in it, right? Create a relationship contract. It's the only way to be sure you're going to get the relationship you want is to actually do a contract. It doesn't have to be difficult, but it should be there. People, when they get married, they exchange these vows to say, this is what I expect and this is what I'm going to give. If you haven't done that, you technically don't have a relationship. If we spend money together, does that mean we in business together? No. So if we have sex together, that don't mean we in a relationship together. See what I'm saying? You have to spend money and say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is who gets the profits. We're going to do this. Then you have a business together. Just spending money together don't mean you got a business. It means y'all spend some money. Having sex means you spent sexual energy together. That does not mean y'all in a relationship. And too many people think kisses is contracts, and they're not. So you better sit down and actually talk. And once you've talked it out, then you can manage your expectations based on the agreements you've made. Because sometimes you expect things from people, but you haven't, one, told them that you expect that. You haven't found out if they're capable of doing that. And then you upset with them because they don't fulfill your expectations that you never told them you had. That's mad unfair. At best, it's unfair. You know what I'm saying? It's usually going to cause a lot of problems, a lot of arguments, a lot of miscommunications. So agree to it. If y'all are going to be monogamous, cool. If not, cool. But y'all need to have that discussion. Don't assume it. Don't assume because you're the only person on their Instagram, you're the only person they're dating. Don't assume it. You know what I mean? Say it clearly. And I know sometimes we're scared to say really vulnerable, intimate stuff. But if you don't, that's how you get your emotional ass kicked later on, because you didn't have the conversation first. You assumed it, found out it wasn't there, and now you all heavily invested. Yeah, and you gotta tear it apart. It's much easier to have the conversation at the beginning.
That's right.
It would avoid so many problems, but it does take a certain amount of courage because we are taught to do the opposite. To fall back, to hide emotionally, and to do all that kind of blocking and masking. So to actually come out open, to be vulnerable, and to ask somebody else to do the same, and trust that they're going to do it, that is a lot. It is. It's a lot to actually do this right. But if you're not doing it right, why are you doing it? If you're not willing to put in this hard work at the beginning to make it actually work, then you kind of planning on it failing. You kind of planning. Or at least you're just hoping that if you get in a boat with a sail on it, you were hoping the winds are going to take you where you want to go. That's not how we travel, though. You know what I'm saying? So you shouldn't travel in a relationship like that. And if you questioning if you should be in a relationship, like, I like this stuff, but I don't like that, all you got to do is ask yourself, is this serving my eye? Does this relationship serve my eye? Does it make me feel more empowered? Does it make this person feel more empowered? Does it make my nation feel more empowered? Ask those three questions, and you're good. Does it balance out? If not, get it. So you're going to have these challenging conversations. They're going to come because relationships ain't perfect. They shouldn't be. They're supposed to make us work and grow a little bit. And so when they happen, here are some things that you can do that will help you get through the challenge. Because if somebody is upset and they start coming at you, right? They in their feelings, they start coming at you. And you feel that coming at me energy. It makes you feel a certain type of defense. A trigger might even happen. So this is what you want to do. You want to communicate in a way where both people are being respected. Meaning, if they're talking, you listen. Don't interrupt them. Don't, even if they say something wrong, you have to have a system. They have that thing where they say, put a pin in it. If y'all got to have an argument, have a system like, all right, here's a pebble for later. Like, have some little marbles or something where it's like, I'm not going to interrupt you, but I need to come back to that. Have a system. Stick a pin in it. Yes. Stick a pin. A talking feather. Because it's my eye, yo. Yeah. Boom. You can only talk if you got the feather. I've got the crunch. Respect each other's thoughts and feelings, man. Somebody's going to say, this is how I feel, this is what I think. Don't tell them they're wrong for thinking or feeling. You can say, I don't feel that way, I don't think the same, but don't tell them they're wrong for that. Talk through it. That's where the communication has to happen. It's when there's a thing that they think this and you think that. That's where the communication has to happen. Not where it's you think this and they think this. That's the easy part. When they think this and you think that, you have to find where's the bridge. And if you can't find it, perhaps you shouldn't be together. And that's okay. It's okay not to be with somebody. This right here, though, behave in public, yo.
Move on.
Behave in public. Only criticize and or argue in private. That's crucial. And I know that for men and women. Nobody likes to be tried in front of somebody, right? If I'm a grown man and a woman come up trying me and arguing with me and I'm like, hey, lady, I'm in front of all my fans. It's going to be all my ego is all in that. You know what I mean? I don't have the time to hear what she's saying because my ego is worried about all these other people thinking I'm getting played and I'm feeling embarrassed. So I can't talk to you, girl. Now I got to disrespect your ass back. It's not the right thing to do. It's not going to work. And that works for men and for women. I know I've seen women who was doing their thing, and men like do that patriarchy bullshit and kind of give them this energy, and you can see the woman's energy change. Like, I hate this dude right now. Should have been said at home. It should have been dealt with at home. You got to know how to do that. You got to know how to bite your tongue and save it for later, because you don't want to make it a public thing unless you are actually in a community where y'all can work with each other. If you're not in a community and they know you and they know your family and they work with you and y'all do rituals together, then you don't put your business out there like that, because that's going to trigger your other person and they won't be able to move past that without some real healing. Arguments and criticisms ain't supposed to be ego battles. They're supposed to actually help you get closer. You find the things that you're kind of at odds about, and it's supposed to be a loving debate. It's not supposed to be, yeah. It's not supposed to be, yeah. It's supposed to be, I disagree with that. Well, let's talk about it. Why do you say that? Where? Can you explain that? Can you show me that? So that we can understand each other better. Not to prove I'm right and you wrong. Not to beat you down and say, hey, I'm the smart one in this. You don't want to get into a battle. You want to get into a calibration. That's how you should think of your arguments, debates, things like that. And watch your words, man. Don't be cussing at people. Even if you're not cussing at them like F you, even if you're not saying F you, if you're saying like, what the F? They might be in a really sensitive space such that any curse word can trigger them. Yep. You got to know your partner to know if that's true or not. But I know I used to feel that way. I was married for 9 years, and whenever we would get into a heated discussion, my ex-wife would curse, and I felt like she was cussing at me, like, hey, don't cuss at me right now. I'm sensitive right now. I'm like really in my open, vulnerable space. This is not the time to use that language. And her mind, she was like, well, I'm not cussing at you. And I'm like, actually, you are. It ain't even like, yeah. It ain't even like, it was just like, F this place. It was like, I don't know why the F you doing that. It's like, that's cussing at me. That's cussing at me, right? Yeah, and I would feel that way, but she didn't feel that way. So that's what I'm saying. You got to even be careful with just feeling like, well, I'm not cussing at you. I'm not saying F you. They might take it somewhere. You really have to be mature in this and not let your ego run the show. If you let your ego do it, you're asking for drama. Do not say things like you never listen or speaking hyperbole. We mentioned that. You always. Do not combine a series of past arguments. Don't bring up old stuff. Deal with what's the issue right now. He did not put the toilet seat down this time. Don't bring up that he didn't wash the dishes last week and the garbage is still out from last night. Don't bring up all that stuff. Deal with the issue, because then we can focus. You just shotgun blast people with all these issues. It's too much. And then it turns into one of those, you don't see me. And that's the important part, is to get to a place where you feel like I see you and you see me. That's the whole point of the communication. Don't assume. Please don't. Just ask. Just tell and ask. So many problems alleviated. Don't think your mate is totally aware at all times of that person's behavior or yours. They don't always know what they're doing. They don't always know what you're doing or why. So don't assume it. Don't get mad at them like, well, you should know better. I hear women often say, men are hunters. Men know what they want. Men will let you know if they want to get with you. And that ain't necessarily true, ladies. As much as y'all think that's the case, there are a lot of men who've been traumatized, who don't know how to approach a woman, but would love to, who have only seen negative and vulgar ways of how to approach a woman, and they're respectful and don't want to do that to you, but they still want to talk to you, just don't know how. So they're not aggressive/assertive, but that doesn't mean they're not interested. So when I hear that whole men always like that, you can't do that, because if we say that about women always, women are too emotional. It's not fair. It doesn't accurately say what's really going on and deal with our historic situation. Do not feel like you know your mate because y'all had sex or because y'all are intimate. That does not mean you know a person. It might mean you know their physique, but it doesn't mean you know what they're thinking. So talk. Don't think just because we had sex we close, or I know you now, or I know what's up with you. You don't, unless you have really talked. Don't think love is going to fix everything, because Con Ed don't accept love. Do not become an instant expert psychotherapist all of a sudden. Because you took a class with Dr. Africa and Brother Joshua, now you can go into a relationship and be like, well, brother, you need to do this because... Don't do that. If they really need psychotherapy, then take them to an expert. Take them to a real professional. Don't be the one trying to psychotherapist for them, because they can't receive that from you. That's not who they're with. They don't want to date their therapist. They want to date their partner. See what I'm saying? So be their partner in it. Walk with them through the rough terrain, but don't be the one trying to tell them to map them to their emotions. Don't go to bed angry. That's yucky. You're gonna wake up kind of yucky. Because a lot of processes actually happen while you're asleep on a chemical level. We're about to talk about the chemicals and be done, because I know our time is upon us. But don't go to sleep angry because that's where all your healing and cleaning process is happening. And if you've taken a bunch of emotional yuck to bed, that's a hard thing to clean out. And it usually doesn't get cleaned out because your body is spending all this energy on the physical things. So you're going to wake up still yucky. You don't want to start a day with somebody yucky. That's not how you do it. You want to start it with a beautiful ritual. Let's open up some sunshine things. Can I get a click on that? This is a little quick video that will break down some hacks about how your body responds chemically to happiness. Do we have volume on that?
You would have to.
We're not plugged in. We would need. Do you have? Oh.
We'll put it up there.
Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins are the quantum responsible for your happiness. There are ways to potentially cause them to flow.
Is it on?
Dopamine is released whenever you achieve low levels of dopamine are linked with low self-esteem, self-doubt, low enthusiasm.
Oh yeah. Gotcha. All right. Cool. All right.
Turn up the volume.
So this is just talking about what chemicals come from what emotions. Wow.
10 seconds. And the arrow.
You may not have a money tree, but you can have a happiness tree. Hi, I'm Tai Win, and today we're going to talk about hacking into your happy chemicals. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins are the quartet responsible for your happiness, and there are ways to intentionally cause them to flow. Dopamine is released whenever you achieve a goal. Low levels of dopamine are linked with low self-esteem, self-doubt, low enthusiasm, and what causes us to procrastinate.
Black men are often low on dopamine levels because they don't achieve a lot of things, except in sports and video games, which is why they be so addicted to sports and video games, because they can get their successes there reliably. They can rely on, I can get a success here if I need it.
So you can cause dopamine to be released by taking that big goal and breaking it up into smaller pieces, and each time you reach a milestone, going out and celebrating. They did some interesting studies on rats. Those with high levels of dopamine always worked harder to achieve a bigger goal and experience a bigger reward. Those with low levels always took the easy route and experienced a smaller reward. Also, there's typically a slump after you achieve a goal. There's a big time frame between your next experience of dopamine. And so to overcome that, set a new goal before your current goal is reached. That way it shortens the time frame between experiences of dopamine. Healthy levels of serotonin are experienced by people who feel as though they have significance and importance in their life, when they have a deep sense of meaning. Antidepressants actually work by facilitating the release of serotonin. And so you can cause serotonin to flow through gratitude practices by reflecting on experiences and achievements, accomplishments in the past. The brain has difficulty telling the difference between what's imagined and what is real. And so during the gratitude practice, you're causing your brain to release serotonin by bringing back these mental images of achievements and accomplishments. Oxytocin, otherwise known as the love hormone or the cuddle hormone, is a glue that strengthens relationships, and it's released between couples during orgasm. It's released by mothers in childbirth and during breastfeeding to strengthen that bond. Doctors say that you can facilitate the release of oxytocin through human touch, human interaction, creating intimate moments. And one great way is, instead of going in for a handshake, just to give a hug. There's one doctor that recommends 8 hugs a day, so you can try that and help you release more oxytocin.
I'm sorry.
Endorphins are released in response to acute pain and stress. So runners, if you've ever experienced the runner's high or your second wind, that's your brain releasing endorphins, giving you that surge and that rush to keep moving forward. It acts in a similar way to morphine, actually, as an analgesic or sedative. Endorphins will help relieve that pain, and you can help endorphins to flow through simply laughing. Laughing has been shown as a great tool for facilitating endorphin release. Even the anticipation of laughter will cause your brain to release endorphins. So bringing your sense of humor wherever you go to work, forwarding that funny email, will help your brain release endorphins. There are also different foods and aromas that can help facilitate endorphin release. dark chocolate has been shown as one, and spicy food as well. So just have some dark chocolate at your table if you want an endorphin release. Hope you enjoyed this video.
So, she funny, bro. So, it's important to know that you can chemically change yourself. Chemically change your relationships. I want you to know that it's in your hand. It's not something that's like just blowing in the wind and you have to take whatever emotions come. You can take control of your emotions. You can take control of your relationship situations and the emotional capacity there. Here's one last way to assess people's emotions is on their food. If they have cravings, like you can assess yourself or people around you. If people get stressed and they want bread, women who often want ice cream or cheese, there are reasons behind these things. Some people always want something crunchy or salty, or they want to chew on something. Here are the reasons behind those things. Bread is when you're having a feeling of insecurity, right? Or dissatisfied. The texture of bread is that it's kind of comforting. You know what I mean? Some fresh, warm baked bread is comforting. Makes you feel like, I'm satisfied. So if you're not satisfied feeling, people who have a long-term, I don't feel satisfied in life, tend to want bread things. I used to be a bread dude. Like, that's how I measured a restaurant. I never liked seafood in my life, but I would check for Red Lobster sometimes. They got cheddar biscuits, homie. I was like, the cheddar biscuit bread, though? Breads. Chewy is for tension and stress. Like, you know, you chewing out, you just like, it's all this tension and you got to like chew it down a little bit. So you can almost intuitively figure out what these things mean. Creamy, cream comes from matrilineal energy, the nurturing thing. So if people aren't getting nurtured enough, they tend to want something creamy. They want some yogurt, some ice cream, some cheese. If people are like anxious all the time, they feeling like something bad is coming, they got to crunch. It's like, I got to break through this. I feel this bad thing is coming, and you kind of like anticipating something bad, and the crunch kind of gives that crunched relief feeling. Salty. It's a lot of salty people, man. Anger. You know what I mean? The salt is an anger thing. You frustrated. You see it's mad salt and sugar in every little corner store. It's because sugar is the substitute for love. So if somebody is wanting sugar and salt all the time, which works as a chemical seesaw, which is why McDonald's will give you salty French fries and then a little sugary Coke, it seesaws you back and forth to each other. So it's like, I'm angry and I'm mad, ooh, I'm tight, but I'm sugary and I feel better now. But this ain't real love, and damn it, I want some real love. So you just be like seesawing back and forth between, I need some real love. I need to be nurtured. I need somebody to take care of me. And I'm tight. I'm anxious. I'm frustrated. So these are how we kind of like self-medicate. Even sometimes we look down on people who do hard drugs, but we do soft drugs. Sugar is a soft drug. Caffeine, these are a lot of things that we use to cope. And I'm not hating on nobody because the situation calls for it. For me, spiritual technology means you're trying to accomplish something. I'm going to close with this. You're trying to accomplish something with spiritual technology. Sometimes you have the resources to accomplish it in a holistic, healthy way, and sometimes you don't. So what do if you're in a situation where your whole being requires balance, it requires the wholeness, but you're in a situation that doesn't allow it? Then you're going to do something dysfunctional to try your best to deal with it. You're going to try. That's what we've been doing. That's what drugs are. That's what binging is. That's what all of this stuff is us trying to adjust to a situation that's not healthy for us. It's not actually built for us to thrive, but we still are insisting on thriving. For some reason, melanated people still want to be great, even after all this crazy stuff we've been through. We just won't accept that we're losers. You know what I mean? So if we have not accepted that we're losers, I think that we need to conversely accept that we are winners. Like, embrace that as a whole situation and carry that into our relationships with each other. If you go into a relationship thinking you're a winner and I'm a winner, then we can win at this relationship. If you go in thinking either one of you is a loser, then we're not going to win at this. At some point, it's going to become the issue. It's going to become the ego trigger point where it's like, I knew I shouldn't have. I wasted all my time with you. You knew da-da-da-da-da. And y'all start doing all this stuff. I think you can have a good relationship with anybody that you have an intentional relationship with. talked to my man King Simon, there are some number of things that you should be considering. There are some zodiac. I was about to make up a whole new word. Zodiological. It's going to have a lot of syllables to it, though. I'm going to tell you that. Start with a Z. Zodiological. But it's some real things that will determine your affinity for each other. You know what I mean? Like, is this going to be easy or is this going to have a few more challenging steps to it? But if you take the time to do the work, you can have a relationship with who you need to have a relationship with. I think it's important to take the time to know them in an emotional way, though. Find out their emotional language, find out their emotional triggers. Find that out. Triggers are the biggest thing. I think I'm a trigger champion. I find every trigger in every woman I've ever dated. They just like come to me magically, like, oh, I'll say this wrong thing. And, and I've learned a lot about triggers in this way, right? But what I have learned is that when you trigger somebody, it's not really about you. They will get triggered up and they'll come at you, but it's not about you. And if you can hold that space and say, I know this is not about me. I know that this person is having an issue that they haven't processed yet, that they haven't healed with. And I can be their training ground. I can be their X-Men workout where I can be whatever they need to work through this. And once you can help them through that, then you'll have a real strong partner. Y'all will have a dope bond that y'all can really rely on. That's the work, if you can do that work. If you find somebody worth doing the work for, do the work. Do the work. It's going to pay off so many ways. I'm done talking, y'all. Y'all got questions? I have 2 other things if y'all want to do it on the way out.
Got 10 minutes.
We got 10? Y'all got any questions? Yes, brother.
You know, on that chart, go back to the chart.
Which one?
Where you had the different emotional bodies, where happiness was red and
Gotcha.
Keep way in the back. Keep way in the back. Yeah.
Like that one there? The one with the words? Oh, sorry. That one.
You got it. So now, give me a second.
you have depression,
Right.
And I recently experienced that with your loss, transition. And in that, let's say that is the reality. All right. So what I had to find out to do, and this is part of mastering the observation, because I'm the one who observes. I had to remove myself from the sadness, observe the sadness. So in other words, I'm still here, but I'm observing the feeling of this sadness.
Right.
And I found that where that put me at was in neutral. Where's neutral? Okay, so here's my question to you. Now I'm comfortable right there, even today. Neutral?
Neutral.
Is that my eye?
Is my eye neutral? Is that what you're saying?
That position right there.
It's right
Is
here.
that my eye?
I would say that exists in my eye. Honestly, bro, all of these are my eye. All of these are my eye. And I mean it like this. Let me explain how I conceptualize emotions. I think of it like if you've got a log and you set it on fire. The log is like the incident. The flames and the heat is the emotions that come from the incident, right? So I'm saying that my eye provides for everything to exist in its space. The ranges of emotions that we have are when we move in through the fluctuations, when we actually move from one thing to the next. So if I'm at a red energy and then my energy moves up to yellow, that's a movement. And I feel that movement. Just like if the wind blows by me, I feel it on my face. But what I consider the actual emotions that we feel, I feel happy, I feel angry, is when the emotional state is moving from either going up or going down. And if it goes up, we like that feeling. It's taking us to a higher plane. And if it goes down, we tend not to like it. But my art provides the whole range of feelings for us to have, right? So that's why I say that's all my art. It's really about what you do with it. So if you can dissociate from that and say there's sadness, what I can do with that is go talk to somebody else who has dealt with sadness and help them understand that this doesn't last forever. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't mean you have to.
I don't understand at what point, and I'm not in the philosophical point, but when you speak of Ma'at restores the balance, right? So I'm not looking to be in anger, fear, disgust.
I see what you're saying.
Right? I need my heart balanced.
Peace.
Right.
Like Hotep.
Hotep, right? So I don't see Ma'at in anger.
Nah,
I'm not.
I hear
I'm
you.
in isfit, right? I'm in disorder, and not philosophical.
Think segment. Do you know segment?
Yes.
Like this burning fire. You see what I'm
That
saying?
segment also has Patah.
This is my point. That's what I'm saying, is that as long as there's a balance, set even. You know what I mean? Set out of balance is a problem, but imbalance is great. So I'm saying all of these things are within the realm of human experience. We're in a Western military concept, such that anything that we don't like, we tend to militarize it. We call it bad. We put all these negative connotations on it. But that's just the perception of it. In and of itself, fire is not bad. But you can burn a house down and you can cook food with it, right? So I'm saying these things, none of these are out of my eye. I understand the hotep you saying, but peace is not a flat line, right? That's death. So peace is throughout all the vibrations. I know this is all my eye. Such that if you feeling the depressed energy, you can say, I know this is a part of my eye. I know this vibration exists. If I love the color blue, when I look at red, I don't be like, that's out of my eye. You see what I'm saying? It's all within the scale, but it's about what you do with it that determines whether you're acting in my eye or not. Does that answer what you're saying, bro? I'm saying as far as the neutral, you can't have a neutral all the time, right? So if you wanted to exist in Hotep, you can't just be in, I'm never going to feel happy, I'm never going to feel sad. That's what I mean, because it has to be a vibration.
As the observer.
Mm-hmm. As the observer.
As the observer, you can be in neutral because you're not in judgment.
Right.
As the observer.
I hear you.
So I can observe you, I can observe the room, and that makes me the observer.
Right.
So I'm not up and down. I'm just observing the frequency that's around me.
So
it's in that place. That's why I asked you was neutral Ma'at, because Ma'at always restores a balance. That's what we say, right?
So in that, then I will say it like this: if I'm observing the room, and a child walks in and is playing, and I like that, right? I can observe that and not be in any way judgmental of it, but enjoy it. I enjoy seeing this child play. I could see an elder come in and look like they've had a hard life, and that might cause me not to enjoy that. It causes me some type of compassionate feeling. Not losing my eye at all, not losing my space as an observer, but knowing how I personally feel about it, what I think about it, my perceptions.
That's no longer neutral.
I understand that. I'm talking about the ma'at inside the vibration, the peace inside the vibration, the stability that comes from the sum total. If you zoom in on anything, you can see it going, and if you back up from it, it looks solid and still. So I'm saying the stability of ma'at is not in being still, but it's in being ma'at through all the vibrations. So I understand what you're asking me about. Is this the neutral space of ma'at? I'm not bothered. I'm not feeling great. I'm not feeling terrible. I'm feeling cool the whole time. What I'm saying is that is not ma'at. If you look at any of the stories, all of the deities had a full range of feelings, but they're all created through Ma'at. So it's, for me, it's saying, like, you've heard the term righteous anger? So that's what I'm saying. How can you have righteous anger if we're not talking about Ma'at within all things? You see what I'm saying? That's what I mean. You could be nice to somebody in a disrespectful way. Being friendly don't always mean you're doing something right. You know what I mean? You can, like, give people blankets with diseases on it. You can send somebody a Trojan horse type deal. Like, here's a gift, but it's going to kill you. So that's what I'm saying is the ma'at is in knowing that it's not the fire or the water that's good or bad. It's how you're existing, what you're doing with it. That's the peace is no matter the situation, no matter what I feel through my vessel, I know I am not this vessel and I'm experiencing through it, but I am not it. So I don't mind what's happening. I'm not thrown off. I'm not going to forget I am and start thinking this happened to me. That's what I'm saying. When I think ma'at, I think you could be a ma'at in all of these, not just neutral. Let me get these questions in.
So, to tail off what the brother said, can you elaborate on what your understanding / definition of ma'at is? Because my understanding is ma'at is truth, justice, righteousness. And how does what you explain fit inside of that? Because now I'm trying to reconcile what you explain with my understanding of ma'at. Not to say I'm no paragon of anything or
no, I got
master thing. So I'm trying to learn.
Okay. You want to say something before?
No, I think even if you go to the 42 laws.
42 laws or something.
Why was it written?
Right.
Because there was some type of imbalance.
Exactly. So this to answer your question about how I define ma'at. My understanding of ma'at is that ma'at is what makes it so that all things can exist in their place. It's what defines the proportion. Why can I breathe the same air that trees are breathing, but we need the exact opposite I need oxygen out of the air and they need carbon out of the air. We breathe the same air. We don't have to go into separate rooms to get what we need. But my art has made it that my body can get what I need from this air, the tree body can get what it needs from this air, and we can both exist side by side, and I'm not dying from carbon, and it's not dying from oxygen. I use that example to say everything fits together. That's my art. That's balance, is that the tree and the people are one being. You see what I'm saying? That's the balance that I understand as my art of God planned it. You know, the divine planned it such that everything has its space. And if it exists, that means God is okay with it. That's the part we be having a hard time with. Is that if it exists, that means it's within the realm of my art. So God allowed that. You got to deal with your challenges. It's like a video game. People get mad at cheat codes, but if it works, that means the designer allowed it. So is it really a cheat if the designer allowed for it? You see what I'm saying? You're thinking in terms of, this is the way they told me to do it. But what if they told you to do it because they know the cheat codes already, and they want you to go the hard way, and they know the quick way? So I'm saying if it's in the program, if it exists, then there's a reason for it. We don't like roaches and rats in the house, but I bet God had a great idea. So he's like, yo, I need roaches for this. Butterflies can't do what my roaches do. You see what I'm saying? You ain't gotta like them. You ain't gotta like them. But my art says I got love for every creation that I put out here because it's for a reason. That's my balance. It's white people got a reason. I ain't mad at them for existing. I ain't mad at snakes because they bite. I'm mad at humans that keep wrapping snakes around their babies. You see what I'm saying? I'm not mad at biting snakes. That's what they do. I'm not mad at the cannibalistic people. That's what they do. But if I come dressed in a hot dog suit with ketchup all on my head, that's on mine. That's on me if they come to bite me. You see what I'm saying? So you got to acknowledge who you're dealing with and what they are and not be mad because God gives everything its place. You got to acknowledge what is your relationship to this thing. That's where my art comes into place. What's my relationship to this thing? We got to change our relationships. I saw you, bro.
Observer about neutral, because if even in nature operates in certain principles as we see, but nature doesn't operate in all those principles that are up there. All right. So now, if I'm at a low point and I'm operating out of its fit, this is why, and this is my truth, only my truth, brother. I'm not trying to outshine nothing.
No, I'm with you, bro.
If I'm in disorder. And I'm moving in disorder, I'm moving in fear. I go to my art to restore the balance. So what I do, I drink some water, I breathe. And it's at that point, at neutral, I know that I am in my art. So when you come to me with that energy, and I'm in my art, I'm not feeling that, because I'm balanced internally. I'm not in my art in envy. When I go to the funeral and they trying to take my stuff, and the elder says, you need to be in my art. And I'm telling them, I'm bringing second met. He said, no, you need to be in my art. Is in my art is the balance when all these emotions come to the point where it brings me to a neutral spot, and now I am the observer of all the emotions. This is only my truth and how I understand my art.
Yeah. Was Sekhmet necessary at that time?
No. Sekhmet was necessary, but I had to bring my art. Because I was coming with Sekhmet. And with Sekhmet brings the fire.
That fire, for those who don't know.
Sometimes that's what brings things back into balance. It's not looking at it from what's good or bad. It's right.
I had no judgment in good and bad. What I'm saying is,
so
if I start that fire,
I
start that fire, and this is where the wisdom. If I start that fire, I need to know, well, where's the water? You never burn a candle without water, right? That's my art. So I understand that part.
Yeah.
But before I move in that emotion, I have to bring myself to a neutral place of my art. My heart has to be light. I'm not coming with Sekhmet because I know after Sekhmet, I'm going to be locked up.
Then you'll find my art.
Then you'll find my art. In the cell, meditating. I saw Heru in my cell last night.
Like Queen Baba Heru would say, it's all in divine order.
Exactly. Let me get this question here real quick.
All right, so my question would be, I mean, we have all these range of emotions, right? So we can take them to different frequencies, correct?
Right.
and I think it's comparable to the elements, right? So if we're going to keep it within nature, you have winter, and then you have summer, you have fall and spring, and they're all opposites on a spectrum, correct? So then, if you're talking about balance, I would think to answer his question, we're not going to neutral. We kind of blend into that next season. So then, if we're anger, what would be the opposite on the spectrum for anger?
It also depends on how angry.
And then within, he said that he would bring in water. Well, what's the temperature of the water? What form of it? Is it gas? I mean, we have different elements and different variations on the spectrum. So I think that would be the answer to the question. Exactly.
That route works for him.
Oh, I'm not here to answer what will work for him, but to give a better understanding of what this range of emotions are and the frequencies, right? There needs to be a balance. So you're not outside of the experience. We're not technically neutral if you're not going to stay neutral if someone is angry. You're going to show some kind of empathy. So you got to balance it out with the opposite element.
Yeah.
And bring my eye.
And then together.
Even into the concept of what we're talking about, dealing with emotions as far as relating to each other and stuff like that, and having a experience with each other. You know, so sometimes you have to match fire with fire. Sometimes you just have to, because that's what's called for. That is what's right. That is what's just in that moment. So you said you're right. It's the wisdom, but he said it. It's the relationship that you have to that moment. What part do you play in that?
That's right.
And if the part that you play is to bring strength at that time, then you have to be able to embrace that and be that. That's what brings the balance.
Let me get this sister
That's what
voice
also
in here
kind
real
of
quick.
makes you because you're not
What you
doing
saying,
it
sis?
from because I'm mad at you, so I'm doing it. I'm doing it because this is what's called. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you, Mike. No, we have a good conversation, yo.
Like with my ex-husband, when you have an argument, like say you say to take out the trash, right? You're cooking, take out the trash, and put some more trash in it. And they say, well, your shoes are a mess in the closet. How do you
Right.
like how do you I don't know, I guess create a straight line or to like you said, you deal with one issue at a time. Like what is a strategy?
If they bring up more issues, how do you like keep it on one issue kind of deal? Like if they come to the side, you done practice, you done study, you trying, but here they come, bringing up your shoes in the closet. What I would suggest on that is that you take it out of the specific of the moment and pull it back to what's the underlying issue. So if it's messy shoes, we talking about order, you know what I mean, and things like that. If we talking about taking out the garbage, that's again an order thing, a communal space thing. So you bring up these types of things, and instead of going direct at an issue sometimes, make it indirect. Let's really deal with the real issue of we need a little bit more order. Who's better in our relationship at ordering things out? Who keeps a planner pad? Maybe you should be the one to come up with a schedule. You see what I'm saying? You come up with solutions. If you think solution-oriented instead of problem-oriented, you usually get there. A thing that I've always done for the past at least 10 or 15 years when I'm throwing shows, I always say there are no problems. And I have had features cancel on me. I've had co-hosts cancel. I've had entire sound systems not work. I've had bands cancel. I've had everything go wrong. You know what I mean? And in my mind, there are no problems. I'm looking for a solution every time. So if there's no sound system, I'll be like, yo, we about to have a dope acoustic set tonight, y'all. It's about to be fly. This is Nicholas Unplugged tonight. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to come up with a way to make it fly. The feature ain't show up, I'm going to see who in the audience is ready to make a come-up ain't never featured before. You know what I mean? You got to figure out what do we have available. So if it's like, yo, if I buy a shoe rack for the closet, that's one solution. But then I need to make sure you doing your part and taking the garbage out. So it's really a negotiation of what do we really need to get out of this? What's behind the argument? Put your cell phones on silence, please. So a real effective way is one, to not go directly at the issue. It's hard once they brought up the second issue to be like, no, I'm not talking about that, because they already involved and that's like their evidence. So they want to bring that up. So you got to kind of make it so it's not a bump head. It's not a competition. It's not about that. It's like, you know what can I do to help? Do you want me to replace the bag when you take the garbage out? Like, try to see if you can meet them somewhere so it doesn't feel like you're pointing a finger and accusing. Because then they like, hey, it ain't me, it's you. You see what I'm saying? You don't want to make them feel accused. Don't point fingers at people. They always say you point back at yourself anyway. But yeah, just try not to be accusatory. Try to really be empathetic with people and say, I know that you love me. I know that you don't want this to go bad. So if there's a bump in this, let's just be patient. Let's talk about it. Yes, sir. That's our last one. We can talk informally.
There's something called, we call it the two truths. And for my definition, it's kind of like both people can be right at the same time. And I think that's the problem, is that we've been taught in this Eurocentric society that only one of us can be right, but we teach the two truths, which the person can be completely right about how they're feeling and what they're thinking and where they're at. And if you can appreciate that from where they're at, they're right, and from where you're at, you're right, and both of you seeing it that way, that those two truths, exactly, you can find that middle ground.
It's true. I have avoided so many arguments because when a woman tells me, I feel like you, I'm fine with that because she's telling me how she feels. She's not telling me what I did even. She's just telling me how she feels about what I did. So as long as you are in integrity with yourself and you know that what you've done was love and your intention was proper, you should be able to hear somebody say what they thought and felt without you taking it personal. Remember, they're saying how they feel and what they thought. They're not saying what you did. They're saying how they felt, how they were moved by it. So if you can remind yourself that, and it does take practice. It's not an overnight thing to get there. It's a process. But if you can make notes for yourself, put up a reminder somewhere, put it in your phone to remind yourself, hey, listen, don't judge, try to assess, try to listen, be empathetic. Just have a couple reminders because it's going to happen. And conversations are going to get crazy. Somebody's going to mistake something you say. So you just need to be in a loving space with yourself first and with that person and recognize we're not here to take each other out. We're here to support each other. That being the case, you should be able to work through it. Oh yeah, I got stuff.
Promo time.
That's it.
I have a book called If I Could Sing, I Would Sing a Song for the Black Woman. It's got poetry in it. And essays. It's got love letters in essay style. That's my second book of poetry. I'm also in a play that I co-wrote. It's my first play that I produced. It's called You Are Who You Eat. It will be. It's about relationships and food. It's at the Cumble Theater at LIU March 3rd and March 4th. Yeah, it's a beautiful space. We got 2 dates for it. Please come through. You may see some of the things that I talked about worked into the play there, and because we talk about relationships and how you absorb the energy from the people you're around, and it builds who you are, just the same way you eat food and it builds your body. So I appreciate y'all, man. My books are for sale. You can get them on Amazon as well. My website, JashuaSa-RA.com, has all my products and all my events and things. So thank you for y'all being so open to this process. Thank you to the time, to the space.
You know what's so funny about the interesting dialogue between these two? He's a Libra also. October 11th, that's another master number on the October side. He's September 29th, another master number 11. So they, and usually the Libras on September and October are totally sometimes diametrically different from each other in dialogue and all that, but they find balance because Libra represents Ma'at and the balance in their own way. So thank you very much for that dialogue, brother, and thank y'all very much. Thank all of you. Give yourselves a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank Sister Yendez, Empress Yendez, for coming. Give her a round of applause for doing her job. All of this will be available on my YouTube page, King Simon Presents. If you want to watch it over, I did film it all. I did put it, and he filmed it also, brother. August 7th. I can always remember August 7th. That's his birthday. He born the same day as David Levy, so I always remember Bridget's birthday. So, but yeah, so please, if you want to watch it, King Simon Presents on YouTube, subscribe, and you'll watch all of this, what went on. And I want to thank all of y'all for coming out. Support the vendors. My book is on Amazon and Kindle. Support my sister Yendez. What you got going on? You got all your products, the Yoni's theme, the hair products, all of that is going on. Make sure you get her business card. And thank y'all very much. Round of applause. Thank all the vendors for coming out to support. Give them that love. Give them that love. They got the healing circle every Tuesday. If you want to get Reiki massage. You here on Tuesday still? Or you don't? Okay. You got the tarot reading. You got all different types of things happening here every Tuesday. I don't know when my next event. I came back and I didn't even have. I usually plan ahead of time. And believe me, I don't ceremony for Baba James Law. in March, so we're trying to confirm that.
Hey,
See if we're
sure.
gonna be able to make that
So
happen.
yeah,
But thank y'all very
guys,
much for coming out.
appreciate you guys checking out
Give
the.
yourselves a round of applause.
I know I've been MIA for a while. I haven't done any scopes in a while, so I figured I'd scope my brother's lecture, Jashua Sa-RA. You can find him on his website, JashuaSa-RA.com. Also on Instagram, Ethiopian, and on Twitter. I'm a little tired, hungry, so I'm in the scope real quick. I might hop back on a little bit later. I might end up going to Basquiat's Bottle. So if you guys seen the last relationship scope I did a little scope at Basquiat's Bottle. I might head there and I might hop back on and talk with you guys. All right, peace and love, everyone. Check you later.
I was born by the river.